Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bees in a Pod. I'm your host, Mo.
I'm co-host Mash.
And today it's the episode called Just the Bees because it's just the bees today. So I think we're gonna get straight into it.
Let's go.
With
Let's
a
go.
question. I've got a question. So if happiness was the national currency, what kind of work would make you rich?
The work that I'm doing right now, Mo. So, Leaders in Community, amazing place. First of all, amazing work that I'm doing.
Big plug.
I've started new. It's coming near enough. Almost a year.
That's right. It's almost a year now. It's crazy.
It's crazy. I feel like I just started. I was just getting into the mix of it. I mean,
Yeah, now you're a bee.
I feel like I got thrown into the deep end. I did. In all honesty, with the role itself, I thought I'm gonna be the typical, just be the reception guy, and work on my computer, and that's all. Little did I know that a few months from now, I'll be sitting here just as a bee. But no, I mean, I love what I do, and it is brought me so much happiness. And I honestly, I feel rich, even if it's not shown in my bank account. I know it's inside here. I feel amazing. I've come from a dark place, actually. So I think that question helps me go into something that I wrote when I was going through quite a tough time. And I just want to say how much LIC means to me, and how much it's changed for me. And it's brought me so much joy. It's brought me my smile back. And I want to carry on doing what I'm doing, and just build with this wonderful team. So
well, give some context, because you are a poet.
Yeah. So most of the writing that I've done actually came about during college times, and I think it was a lot of mental health related. It was more being in a lonely place and always getting into your thoughts, and I think I've just beaten myself up all the time. So a lot of my writing, for someone who would read it, it's depressing, it's sad. And I think only the writer truly understands where it's coming from. So yeah, it was just, I was going through a tough time. I can't label it as one reason. It was just, I think, everything together, which helped me kind of make this piece. So if you don't mind, more, just wanted to say a few lines, because it is quite a lengthy piece. So I just wanted to go through like the first like para. So
the floor is yours.
Thank you. So it's called Don't Let Me Go to a Thought. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Do I speak to demons in my sleep when they enter my thoughts? Or do I get along with them when I lay awake and go through these thoughts? No, I focused on an opening to escape these demons called thoughts. I try to understand them, to get a better understanding of these thoughts. Listen to the silence. It's the loudest time to hear the screeches of these demons, eating my mind away to try to find a way to get away from these demons. Teach me a way of controlling these dark thoughts I call demons. My mind is made like a maze with no escape to the outside world. Each exit is just the way back into the maze that keeps me away from the outside world. Take me away to a safer place where I can find myself without feeling lost. Offer me a way to find the meaning of life through a pathway without getting lost. And I'm after an answer to this unanswered life that I live. I just want to know, why am I feeling so empty? Yeah, I'll leave it at that one. But it does go on quite a bit. But
That's
I thought
beautiful.
I wanted to lay down. floor.
That's beautiful. What inspired you? Like, I know you said it's a multitude of things, but like, how do you arrive there to kind of express yourself in this kind of format? Because it's a bit of a journey before you kind of find your root of expression.
Yeah, so I mean, when I was going through these things, I think I was trying to find everyone needs a way out, I guess, to express how they feel. So I was trying and find methods in which I could express how I'm feeling without it being so obvious. But then I learned quite early on that I had a bit of a talent for writing pieces, poetry. It kind of came to me in a go. If I can I channel my feelings and emotions, and then I can put it to paper, and I can create pieces, and often like quite quickly. So I can make pieces in 10-15 minutes based on how I'm feeling. So I think ever since from that moment that I figured that I can do that, that's just how I've been expressing myself through writing.
Do you find pieces that what you consider to be your best pieces, or even your bursts of creativity, do you find it only comes to you when you're in a darker place? Or do you also get that when you're kind of in a good place?
It works with both. I mean, dark and happy times as well. I do make pieces based off of emotion, so it can be happy and sad times. I mean, when people listen to obviously the sadder side of my pieces, I think it may pull on heartstrings a lot more, because they may be going through a similar thing, a similar time. So yeah, I mean, I prefer the sad and the depressing pieces that I make, because that's where I've come from, and I know that a lot of people can relate to that. So I do prefer them, but I can also make pieces based off of love, happiness, joy. I do make
it's interesting, because I used to write music back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to write songs. But you know what? There are only two kinds of songs that I wrote. One, when I was with LIC, they're always just funny songs.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of taking a piss a bit. And then privately, I'd write a lot of songs when I was in a kind of a more of a difficult place. And you know what? Since I got into a good place mentally and emotionally, I stopped writing songs. I just haven't got the spark only came to me, that kind of specifically for songwriting and that kind of expression. So my creative expression is a bit, I don't know, it's interesting, because my default when I'm in a good place, it's weird stuff like this. Yeah. So it's like it'll be something fun, be a bit introspective, but especially when it comes to writing, I think let's focus on specifically on writing. I've tried to, like I was telling
but
you,
it's a lot harder to. I mean, relating to you, like ever since, like I said, ever since I've started LIC, I've noticed now that I'm in a happier place, I haven't written as much as I once used to. So yeah, I know that it's harder for your creative channel to work and make things, because you're in a good place.
Art comes out.
You're emotionally in a good place.
A lot of good art comes out of suffering.
Yeah.
Like Vincent van Gogh, right? Like his story is crazy, man. Like everyone hated his work while he was alive. Nobody liked his art. He was not a famous artist. And this guy was tortured. This guy got locked up in a mental asylum. Wow. That's where, correct me, if people are watching that know their stuff, correct me if I'm wrong. Moran, can you search this up? Just make sure that I'm correct about this. So I think, his most famous piece, Starry Night. Yeah. I believe that he painted that when he was in a mental asylum. And that was the view outside of his window. Oh. And yeah, this man was tortured. He cut his own ear off.
Yes, I heard about that.
And nobody liked his art until he was dead. Yeah. So he never knew the impact that his work
would leave behind once he's gone.
And he's one of many. Like it's crazy how much.
But do you feel like that happens in the music industry as well, though? Do you feel like people start listening to a person's music once they're gone?
I think so.
I think what I mean, what would you say needs to change? How do you show appreciation or value someone's work once they're here so they can hear about it? Why is it only that when you no longer know this person, will no longer see them,
I think it's just
and they've
timing.
gone? Why is it?
No, I don't know. I think some of it's maybe that's timing, because with Van Gogh specifically, he maybe his art style wasn't popular for people of his time. You know, because art, some people are ahead of their time. Some people invent things or do things way too early.
Yeah.
Like the world is not ready for it. The best example is VR, right? Because VR was about in the 80s. They had a version of it. 80s or 90s. Because there was, I think it was Nintendo had this kind of VR thing that they tried and it didn't do well. And that's very ahead of its time, because now we're seeing
now it's blown up. Now
it's huge.
It's
now,
huge.
Right?
It's everywhere.
Because it's now the right time.
I see your fancy little headset that you just got laying on the table there. So it's definitely blown up. It's huge.
So it's. I think it's about the time. I mean, at least a portion of it. But I'm kind of more interested to kind of dig into more, like just touching on that whole thing with creating art through suffering. Because with music, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a musician who, once they stopped being in pain, the quality of their music, I think for me, I don't know if this is true, but because like Ed Sheeran, right? I used to really like him.
Yeah.
When he first came out, right?
I really like
his first two albums. Was it Plus and X? I think the first two ones. There was one like, you know, Lego House was the album with Lego House, and then the second one, I think, is the one that has. You know, when your legs don't work, like that one, right? His music has changed so much, and that's not a bad thing. Artists grow and change, but I don't know, for me personally, because.
But do you think? I mean, I don't know how true again it is in the music industry, but your label does have a huge say in what you release or what you do, what kind of song you sing.
You know who would be good to answer this question is Nassim. If he was on this episode, this is him. So for those who don't know, he'll be on an episode later. But Nassim's one of our trustees, and he's an aspiring what's the word, intellectual property lawyer, specifically in the music industry. So this would have been So I don't know. I know the rumors. I know, like, you know, you always hear about the label trying to dictate
so it's
what
the
you
label
do.
And you kind of they dictate what you do, how your image, even what's norm, like what's the modern day norm, or what's society.
You know what the most extreme example of that is? It's with K-pop. With K-pop, right? These people, these groups, like what's the big one? What's the big group?
BTS.
BTS, that's it. Groups like that, right? Their label has controlled their image and what they do, what they look like.
Yeah.
What their music sounds like. It's down to like a scientific manner. It's like, this is like core marketing. It's taking data, saying this is what your audience likes. So you need to look like this, you need to dress like this. They, you know, even with like One Direction, they wanted the same sort of thing where very specific things are controlled because you have an image to uphold. You're a product. That's crazy as an artist. Like that,
it feels like, doesn't it feel like though it strips away who you are? Like when you first started off, you obviously, most people who start off probably have a dream of being huge, being big, being a star one day, right? And then when they become it, it feels like, does it feel like they just get like, you slowly get stripped apart? Like, you know, you to a point like you might not even know who you are anymore because you're following instructions.
I guess maybe that's what people say when they say selling your soul, right? Yeah. Because you've sold the soul of your art. But it's difficult. This is why like people like J. Cole, people like, I think Chance the Rapper to an extent, a lot of these indie musicians who kind of do things themselves. So J. Cole's not signed to a label as far as I know. He put out his stuff independently, which one means you get to keep all your money. The label usually takes a big chunk, and like, you know, people often think, oh yeah, when you get a record deal, that means that you know, when you see all these merch that they put out, all this advertisement that they put out for you, that's not free money. Like, they're taking it out of your paycheck. So when you sell your records, they're like, okay, I'm taking 30% for this ad, 40% for this, 40, and then you're left with a little bit, right? But when you're independent, you have that freedom. You have that freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's where this big push of independent artists come from. But this is where it gets tricky, right?
Yeah, because you got to do double the amount of work.
Yeah.
If you're independent.
And your fans have got to put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
They can't be listening to you just on Spotify.
Yeah.
They got to buy your album from your website.
Yeah.
Right? Because that money's going straight to you. Spotify don't pay very well. You know what I mean? A lot of these platforms do not pay well at all. So the best way, but that's the downside, right?
Yeah.
Because you as an artist have to you rely on the support of your fans.
Yeah.
And people have got to like pledge money. Like you can't be pirating your favorite artist's album. You can't be listening to them illegally. MP3 downloading off of YouTube. You have to support them. You have to turn up to their shows. You have to buy their merch. But you know.
Yeah.
It's hard as an artist to be able to convince people. You have to really touch people. But I guess that's the value of art. Yeah. All right, let's you know what, you should ask me a question. Let me give you.
Go on, let's dive into Mo's brain now.
Go on. Yeah.
I'm gonna do what you done actually, just pick a number. But then again, you probably know all these questions.
Maybe you pick one. You pick one that you think will be interesting.
Let's see. Oh, I've got one because I see you use this so much. So to a point that, it's driving you nuts. So, number 6, let's go. Do you think artificial intelligence will ever become conscious? If so, what ethical consideration should we have? Because I see you play around with AI. Like, you're nuts about it.
I love AI.
You're married to the AI.
I am. Man, it's a good question, but I feel like it's a question every single person is talking about. Will AI ever be? First of all, I'm not qualified for this question because I'm not an AI engineer. I have used AI a lot. I guess, okay, I'm going to try and answer it in a unique way. I'm going to try and dive into it. And I think we should have this discussion.
Yeah, and speak English. So terms we actually might understand.
I'll try. All right, firstly, I'm gonna flip it back to you now, okay? Before I dive into it.
All right.
What do you think consciousness is? Firstly, because we can't talk about AI being conscious and what that means if we don't really understand what consciousness is.
In a little bubble, in my own way, I'd say consciousness is similar to being aware. It's knowing your action, knowing what you're doing, knowing right from wrong. Being conscious, like being awake.
But you said two different things there. I love this kind of conversations. So I'm gonna dig into this. So you said two different things there, right?
Okay.
First thing was you said kind of being aware, and then you said knowing right from wrong.
Okay.
Those are two huge. Okay, so firstly, let me put it this way: would you say a sunflower is aware? Because it's following the sun, right? It can face the sun. It's aware of its surroundings. Certain animals, certain plants are aware of their surroundings.
Yes, I would say it is aware.
So does that make it conscious? Or is it like is it a tick list?
It's a tick list. I don't think it makes it conscious now.
Okay, cool. So then we have to strike that off as a major list. It could be something that you can put in there. Yeah. But it's not a major contributor, right? So let's try and figure out what are the major contributors. So, okay, right and wrong, ethics.
Okay.
Right. So that's such a sticky conversation because right and wrong is not universal.
No, it's perspective. Because someone might deem something right completely different to someone else.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's. That's a whole tangent.
Yeah,
all right, continue. What else? What else do you think makes consciousness?
Being able to answer, like being responsive, I guess, can play a part in being conscious.
Being able to understand what someone's saying.
Being able to understand and then respond. Someone, like, if I'm knocked out on the floor, people make the title unconscious. Like when, for example, in emergency situations, you see if the person is conscious or unconscious. So I think being responsive, being able to understand what's being said and responding Yeah, responding in the correct manner. I think that plays a
Yeah.
part in consciousness.
It's a deep one. I definitely think it's one of these concepts that are, you have to use your consciousness to think about consciousness. And you hear a lot about people talking about, oh, the universe is conscious, right? Because it's what, I'm not even going to delve into that because I wouldn't even know how to explain that. But
I think we might need to use the Google translation of what consciousness means to summarize it.
Nah, that's taking the fun out of it. All right, go back to the question. What was the question? So it's like,
do you think AI, artificial intelligence, will ever become conscious? And if so, what ethical considerations should we have?
I think it will ultimately be conscious. I think it eventually will get there, which is scary because the implications of that, even on the spiritual level, because if it has consciousness, does that mean it's alive? And if it's alive, does that mean humans created life? Right? So on a religious level, on a spiritual level, that has a lot of big questions for us to answer.
Yeah.
Because religiously, we may not be able to even accept that it is fully conscious, because to accept it is conscious is to accept that humans can...
That you create life, essentially.
A form of life, at least. It doesn't have a flesh and bone, a biological body.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a heart, a physical heart. But it thinks you can make it... It could think it might have. It could have a virtual body. Yeah. It's a big thing. If it did come to life, and then on top of that, it's like what about where it's used? Like, because like going back to what you said in terms of telling right from wrong, how would an AI uses data from humans,
outside source? So
like ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
It's not thinking for itself, right? It's accessing a huge database of what humans have created to then give you an answer. So it's this AI is going to be initially at least drawing off of a human database. Yeah. But then if it's conscious, it's adding its own thoughts into it. So how will it know what's right from wrong? Because there's this whole thing, right? The whole typical AI dystopia thing is that it will do whatever it needs to do to accomplish its task, right? So let's say if the task was, you give it a task, solve global warming. Yeah. The easiest way to do that for an AI that lacks morality is, kill all the humans. Because they're causing it, right? Yeah. So if you get rid of all the people, then you've solved global warming. But that's unethical.
Not ethical, yeah.
Exactly. Man, yeah. Okay, I think it will be alive. And the ethical considerations, I think it's finding... I mean, if it has consciousness and then you say you put restrictions on it, that's slavery. So you'd have to enslave it. If you say put restrictions on a conscious AI, that is slavery.
Slavery, yeah.
You're enslaving, you're literally mentally enslaving a conscious being.
Yeah.
My God.
This is scary. It's a scary world, man. It's a scary time.
Do you think we'll get there in our lifetime?
I think there's still a lot of development, but I mean, where modern days come now, where technology has advanced so much, and where I think people have all the resources in front of them, I don't think it will take long for them to create something. But then it brings up to mind, there's a saying you hear in movies a lot of the time when they say, oh, we need to make sure this doesn't fall into the wrong hands. It kind of makes it feel like that.
It's true.
Because you could do wonders with it, but you also do some scary stuff with AI.
My biggest prediction is I think that I think before AI becomes fully conscious, I think it will be integrated into our consciousness. I definitely think it's going to be a big thing where humans Like it's moving towards the cyborg sort of thing.
Wait, they just put a chip in our brain.
Yeah, Neuralink. Elon Musk is working on that right now. It used to be a sci-fi thing. He's literally working. You can look up videos where they've put in these chips into the brains of chimpanzees, and they've managed to like something as simple as like, you know, that game Pong.
Yeah.
The chimpanzee's controlling the Pong controller with its mind. So initially it's on a controller, right? The chimp is using the controller, so he's moving it up and down. And then they disconnect the controller. The chimp is still using it, but the only connection is with its chip in its head.
So you're telling me we can access potentially telekinesis, or what? I don't know what the term is, but when you can move things with your mind, the kind of stuff you see in the movies.
Maybe at the very least you can we could be like having this podcast just in our minds. We just have a full conversation, like just communicating with the chips in our head.
Oh my gosh, nah, that is a wild. Yeah, I mean,
it's terrifying.
It's scary. I mean, you always hear about the future. Like everyone says, "Oh, what do you think we'll have in the future?"
Yeah.
Like flying cars and hovercrafts, and like, you know, you always say the craziest things that come to mind. Not like crazy, but like still a bit realistic. Look, in terms of a flying car is not too difficult to do. If they can make planes, I'm sure they can do a flying car. But yeah, you always hear about, oh, what does the future hold? What could the future hold? And now with AI in the mix, with these chips that you're talking about, all of this in the
brain chips are going to be big.
This is sounding crazy.
The brain chips are scary, man. Because are you a gamer? Do you play games? Video games?
If consoles count, yeah.
Have you ever played Cyberpunk? That game, Cyberpunk.
I've heard of it. I might have played it.
So it's based in the future. It's like based in the future. It's with the cyberpunk aesthetic. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like huge built up cities in the future, and everybody has chips in their brain. And one of these things you can do is like you can basically tase someone by overloading their chip. Like imagine we have chips in our brains, and imagine you're at a protest and the government wants to stop you from protesting, and then they shoot some kind of electricity at you, and then it melts your brain. Like, you know,
this is a world I don't want to live in. That is.
I don't think we're far off it. So if Elon Musk is saying we're not far off that, would you get the chip?
No chance.
So let me elaborate on it.
I mean,
let me elaborate.
There's probably good in it, but
let me elaborate what allegedly it can solve, right? So allegedly it can help with making sure that you never suffer any mental health issues. Allegedly it can help if you like, let's say someone has Alzheimer's, it can prevent that or stop it or reverse it.
Okay.
If you have certain kinds of paralysis, you know, some people are paralyzed because of neurological, because of their brain pathways, not physically. Like physically, their legs might be physically fine, but the pathway to the brain is broken.
Okay.
It can fix that, so it can heal the people who have broken legs. It can apparently, you know, help with memory, with your intelligence, with your well-being.
So that's a lot of good there. What's the downside to it? There has to be a downside to it. Otherwise, if it sounds that amazing, then
it depends, innit? It depends
people
on
would want to do it, but there has to kind of be.
I think it's
something
it's the fear, innit? It's the fear, because it's like, fear of like we said before, like with the government control. Yeah. That's where you start getting a bit conspiracy.
Are they looking at looking at everything we
exactly.
do?
So at the moment, the government, if they get a warrant, can legally kind of intercept your messages, all of that. I think I don't know if they've passed the law yet, but there's a bill where they want to effectively force encrypted services like WhatsApp to no longer be encrypted, or at least pass the encryption keys to the government when they ask for it, when they get a warrant for it. So if these it depends on, like, these chips, they might be carrying they're interpreting brain data, right? If you to kind of stretch it a little bit, it's basically you can read someone's mind if you have the tools to interpret it. And the thing that scares me about that is you might be saying, oh yeah, but you know, the average person can't do that, or like, you know, it might be very difficult to do that. But you know, you can be, let's say you typed something online, you'll have to comment.
Yeah.
you can be identified by your keystrokes. We're currently experiencing technical difficulties. We'll be right back. Sorry about that. Our brain chips got intercepted by the government, and they realized what we said on there. We were getting too close to the truth. So that explains this jump. It's definitely not the cameras dying. If anybody watching knows anything about how to just keep a camera just plugged into the mains, please contact us.
Get in touch. Get in touch with us.
info@leadersincommunity.org. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. This was a fun conversation.
It was good. I
Just
mean,
to be
Mo, so I've got one more. I mean, we started off with a piece that I made.
Yeah.
And obviously, it was sad.
You got a hopeful
Do you mind
piece?
if I do one more? I think this one's it's a bit on love.
I think that'd be nice.
Yeah. Let's.
This time,
let's finish
just
it
make
up.
sure you were talking into the top of your mic, talking to the side.
Side of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's get
Let's go.
crystal clear.
So this one's called Forever Falling. I know they say love is dangerous, but I'm bound to danger, for it excites me. I'm curious about how beautiful this stranger is. Is there more to her than what my eyes can see? I know they say love can hurt you, but what's a little tear compared to an ocean? I'm intrigued by the idea that this love can be true. Is there a way of us falling in love without a spell or a potion? So yeah, that's something that I've been working on. Just a little
like
piece. Little piece.
I like that. Even though we're trying to end this podcast episode, I've like, you know what? That's going to be for the next episode.
Yeah.
We'll talk about love. We'll talk about what that
I
means.
think love is a huge topic. So
It
if
is.
we're wrapping it up, I don't think we can.
Yeah, I don't
we
think
can't
it's a
dive into
5-minute
it.
chat.
We can't dive into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's universal. So
This
you
was a
can't-
good chat.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for listening to Bees in the Pod. I realized the last time we didn't have an outro, so I'm going to do an outro now.
All right.
I'm just going to freestyle it.
Go on.
Thank you for listening to Bees in a Pod. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you give us a rating, give us a this is on every platform. So some people call it like, some people call it 5 stars. Whatever it is, leave it, please. Give us a follow, turn notifications on, and we hope you enjoyed. Leave us some feedback on what you thought about this episode.
Yeah.
And if you want to take part in this episode, drop us a message. I think in our link tree there's a guest submission link. So submit yourself, submit somebody else, nominate someone. But until then, thank you.
Thank you. You've been a wonderful host again. So I think we should add that in. Finish it up with, I've been your host, Mo.
Oh, I've been your host, Mo.
And I've been your co-host, Mash.
And a big thanks to Marwan, who just photobombed. Marwan, get in there, getting one of these frames. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.